Hey, folks, welcome to another episode of Cutter One. I am your host, Jay, just Jay, your resident troublemaker and your resident culture warrior. I hope you are all doing well as we cruise on into this upcoming weekend. Should be a good one. I'm hoping it's everybody has a good time. Hope you got plans for the weekend, maybe doing some relaxing, maybe going out, whatever it is. I hope you have the best time doing it. All right, let's get right into it because this is an interesting story that's I'm sure you've seen other people have talked about, but I'm going to talk about it. So let's get right into it. And this is coming to us from the good folks at Screen Rant. Why Lord of the Rings Orlando Bloom is excited for more of the Rings of Power. The Lord of the Rings star Orlando Bloom opens up about why he is excited for more of Prime Video's The Rings of Power and his love for Season 1. As production continues on the next chapter, Orlando Bloom is looking back on his love for The Lord of the Rings of Power, and his excitement for the show's future. Bloom previously starred in Peter Jackson's adaptation of J.R.R. Tolkien's novels as Legolas, a Sindar elf who joins up with the Fellowship of the Ring in order to destroy the One Ring that could lead to Sauron further rising to power over Middle-earth. The former Pirates of the Caribbean star would briefly return for Jackson's The Hobbit trilogy, the last big-screen Tolkien adaptation, before Prime Video got to work on the prequel series, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, or as I like to refer to it, The Rings of Pewter. Let's see, what do we got here? Okay. In a recent interview with radiotimes.com to discuss Carnival Row Season 2, which is a good show. I've watched it. I'm actually looking forward to Season 2. Orlando Bloom looked to both the past and the future to discuss The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. In addition to praising Season 1 for its courageous approach to adapting the material, the former Legolas star shared his excitement for the show's future, namely for his desire to see more of Tolkien's source material brought to life. See what Bloom said below. Quote, I had missed Tolkien. I had missed Tolkien's mind, and I'd missed his world, and I'd missed his vision. And I think they just stepped back into Tolkien's world. I thought it was really courageous. It's not an easy thing to take on another version of something that had such a remarkable run of its own. But I thought it was really admirable. The casting, the story, and the way they approached the world. I'm looking forward to more of it, unquote, which is interesting. Everything we know about Lord of the Rings of Power's future, besides that it sucks. Set thousands of years before both The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings trilogy, the Prime Video series memorably saw Season 1 end with the reveal that Charlie Vickers' Halbrand was secretly Sauroff in disguise, quietly manipulating the people of Numenor. As well as Morfydd Clark's Guy Ladriel, Vickers has since teased a number of plans for Sauron heading into The Lord of the Rings of Power Season 2, namely that it will see the villain in his quote-unquote repentance stage, leading into more of Middle-earth's Second Age. The star has also confirmed that Season 2 will further explore Adar's relationship with Sauron, a dynamic teased throughout Season 1, while Sauron's true identity was kept a secret. Showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick Decay have also assured that they are listening to The Lord of the Rings of Power fans' response to Season 1 going into the show's future. Notice how they didn't say Lord of the Rings fans. They said Lord of the Rings of Power fans' responses to Season 1 going into the show's future, refining the scripts for the latter end of Season 2 based on such. McKay also indicated that rather than going with a complete course correction, the duo and their team will be looking to build on the strengths of Season 1. Amazon TV head Vernon Sanders has also assured that Season 2 will feature a much faster pace than Season 1, an element criticized by viewers, and will also feature a lot more battles. The Lord of the Rings of Power Season 2 kicked off filming back in October, now in the show's new filming home of the United Kingdom. With Season 1 having taken over a year to finish filming, it seems likely that Season 2 won't wrap until sometime later this year, in line with the planned 2024 return. Additionally, with the show already picked up for 5 seasons, Bloom and others are sure to hope turnaround on future seasons is quicker. Okay. Yeah, that was Grant Herman's. All right, a couple of things. Let's get into it. Couple of things. If you really look at what Orlando Bloom said, he said, I had missed Tolkien, okay? I had missed Tolkien's mind, okay? And I'd missed his world, okay? And I'd missed his vision, okay? And I think they just stepped back into Tolkien's world. Okay, that's not necessarily praise or a negative. He's just saying, all right, they went back there. I thought it was really courageous. It's not an easy thing to take on another version of something that had such a remarkable run of its own. Basically, because you're trying to ride the coattails of the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings trilogy, and that's why you're stealing all this out. That's why you have to have Harfoots and hobbits, right? And they've even admitted this. Like, when you think Middle Earth, you think hobbits, right? And so you have to put them in there. So this is, I don't know. I could kind of interpret this as Orlando Bloom's sort of backhanded way of saying, like, well, I give them props for going back and doing what was already done, right? Which I don't know how much of a compliment that is, right? And then he says, but I thought it was really admirable. He doesn't say great. He doesn't say awesome. He says admirable, okay? And that's important because something can be admirable and still be garbage, right? You could still think something is garbage, but think that the person who created it was admirable in their attempt to create something, right? He says, but I thought it was really admirable, the casting, the story, and the way they approached the world, right? So what he's essentially saying is, it's like saying, I find it interesting, right? He's saying, I find it really admirable, right? So it's something of note, okay, in his view, but not necessarily something that's good. He's just acknowledging the casting, the story, and the way they approached the world was something that should be noted, right? When you say something is admirable, it should be noted in a positive way. I'm not saying that he's not being positive, but I find it interesting that he's not saying, oh, I thought it was really cool, I thought it was really great, I thought it was really refreshing, or anything. He's not saying that. He's saying, I thought it was really admirable, right? And like I said, something can be a complete failure, but you find it admirable that the person who failed at least tried, right? And then he says, I'm looking forward to more of it. I mean, okay, Orlando, I guess. I'm not, and I know lots of other people aren't, but so it's kind of hard because on the one hand, he's saying he misses Tolkien, he misses Tolkien's mind, he misses Tolkien's vision, right? But at the same time, he says he's looking forward to more of the Rings of Power, which is not Tolkien's mind, which is not Tolkien's world, and which is not Tolkien's vision. So I'm assuming, Orlando, that you're still missing it. But anyway, so I just thought that was interesting. I like how the article tries to sort of play things up and stuff like that. Like, apparently Sauron in season 2 is going to go through a repentance stage. So that's stupid. And don't get me wrong, I know about the history of Sauron. I know how his story plays out. And that's why I find this kind of ridiculous and stupid. And it's going to be about his relationship with Adar and their whatever. But what I did find interesting is because I remember, if you remember back, like it was a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, there was a big deal about how they're saying, oh, well, we hear the fans, we hear what the fans are saying, and stuff like that. And we're not going to do a complete course correction, but we understand what you're saying. We're going to try to take that into account, right? I like how they very specifically are saying that Pain and Decay have also assured that they are listening to the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Powers fans' responses. So in other words, you have to already like the show for them to hear you. Okay? If you're somebody who's criticizing the show, they probably want nothing to do with you and are tuning you out. You don't exist in their world. But I like how this one let it slip that, yes, they're listening to the fans of the show, not Tolkien fans, not Lord of the Rings fans, fans of the show. They're willing to hear them out. So I just thought that was interesting. Um, and then, yeah, when you have the studio exec, the Amazon TV head, Vernon Sanders, saying, oh, yeah, I can assure you that season 2 is going to be faster paced and stuff, that's a bad sign. And it's not a bad sign because they have to assure you that something's going to have a quicker pace. It's a bad sign when you have a studio head coming out and having to say that. Because what that means is that the executive producers, and studio heads, that they're interfering. They can call the shots, and they will call the shots. Because I guarantee you how that played out behind the scenes is Pain and Decay got a call from either Jennifer Salke or Vernon Sanders and said, listen, guys, we're hearing a lot of noise about this. Make season 2 move quicker. Which in and of itself isn't the problem. The problem is when you have a production that has executives that are not creatives. They are not artistic, creative people. They are executive business people. And they're calling the shots with the pacing of your show and your story. That's that's a no-no. That's the quickest way to ruin your story and ruin your show. So interesting little tidbits to pick up in that article. But overall, I mean, honestly, it doesn't seem like Orlando Bloom is like over the moon with the show, the way the headline makes it sound. And I've seen other people saying it, like, Lord of the Rings star praises Rings of it doesn't seem like that. It seems more like he's like, yeah, well, they went there, so cool, But we'll see. I mean, he's entitled to his opinion, right? I mean, he's Orlando Bloom. He's not really Legolas, so he's just an actor, and ultimately, who cares, right? Like I honestly, I find it interesting, but at the end of the day, I don't base any decision I make off of whether or not Orlando Bloom likes something. I couldn't care less. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, so yeah, so let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What do you make of the fact that they highlight that, the showrunners have acknowledged that they're listening to the Rings of Power fans' responses? Okay, and it sounds weird because I'm sort of pulling that sentence out, but that's exactly what they're saying. What they're saying is that we're not paying attention to fans as a whole. We're paying attention to specifically fans of the show, right? So let me know what you think about that, and also let me know what you think about the fact that you have Vernon Sanders saying that, like, hey, I can assure you that season 2 will have a quicker pace, right? And if that is sort of just another red flag to let you know that the executive producers and studio heads, people who are not involved in the process creatively, are involved in the process, right? And is that a red flag for you the same way it is for me? And what do you make of Orlando's comment? Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Remember, if you like the video, like the video. If you feel like sharing the video, by all means, do so. Spread the word. Get it out there. Get your friends and other people that you know from other groups or whatever and stuff to join the army of beautiful badasses as we stand strong and hold the line for the professor and his works. And if you have not subscribed, I would hope that you would consider subscribing and joining the ranks of the army of beautiful badasses. And if you are a subscriber, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. As always, remember, guys, to be good, be safe, be awesome, but more importantly, stay more dorkish. Peace.